Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Ink Report. This is episode 5. I'm Justin.
I'm Ken.
And we are excited to show you what are the top decks for the week. We had only really one major tournament, and that's at the Florida St. Augustine CCQ. So I thought we'd spend most of the time talking about that.
Yeah. Pretty big tournament.
Yeah.
Great pricing. Love to see that season of 3 of Villainy swag that you get, the mats and such, the cards, promos, great stuff. I'm going to jump right in. Green, purple.
Yeah.
So retro device just taking over.
Exactly. Yeah. We talked about it briefly last week.
We did.
And we said that it was maybe an emerging thing. And this deck has kind of catapulted itself to maybe the control decks of the format right now. And with a few tweaks that we've seen from last week's list.
Yeah. So getting right into the deck, it's incredible. The team Triad, the South Florida team, with Sploosh, who recently won a DLC, came up and piloted it, did a fantastic job. I believe 3 of them with this deck made top 8. Yeah. Is that correct? I think the other partner was on Ruby Amethyst. But this deck is not really changing much of the 4-ofs. Still continuing to use the retro devices, the Woodchuck guidebooks, the Milo Thatch of Prince Philip, etc. But looking at some of the other cards, leveraging the Aladdins, that banish items,
right,
things of that nature, 2 Lennys, Aladdin and Genie for card draw, and then this week we saw 2 Terrans come in, which was great. If you watch the gameplay like I did and Justin, you'll see that Terran was a big, kind of like playmaker, if you will, and then Lyle continuing to do work, just removing the opponent's lore. It's a great deck, and then the big standout for me, and I don't know what your standout was John Silver coming back into the deck.
That's exactly what I was going to say. I think that won many of the games that we saw on stream. The Lyle and the John Silver combo just kind of stalled the opponent and won the game for them.
Yeah, we're seeing the reduction in Chernobog, possibly because everybody is going ahead and trying to build in their counter to Chernobog. You'll even see that if you watch back some of the gameplay with the Ruby Amethyst player playing a Abu, that gains 2 lore, and then goes to the discard bin after.
And so you get to play that for free with the Chernobog's ability.
So big brain moves by Team Triad by only running 2 Chernobog. It's a great deck. It's a great list. Honestly, I think we need to commit to really learning it and dialing in.
Yeah, I think anybody that likes to play that control style of deck is going to gravitate toward this. So as we approach set championships, I expect to see a lot of people to pick up this, especially when we saw kind of Amber Amethyst kind of fall out of favor. It didn't do particularly well this week. We saw that this kind of took that spot. And it's easy to see why, because there's so many different options that you can do. There's so many ways to cheat out characters, and not just characters, big characters with ward that give you all these awesome effects.
Big and little characters with ward.
True. Yeah.
The Aladdin with, and the Huntsman. Just really stopping Yerple, if you will, in its place. So nice to see. It's always fun to watch a meta that evolves. I know there's some contention out with the people on the Lorcana sphere about such an evolving meta, but it is fun, and every week we're getting something new and exciting.
So it makes me wonder what we'll see next week at North American Continentals.
What are we going to see?
I don't know yet.
Are you going?
I am not going. Are you?
No, I am not going. I wish.
Yeah, it'd be fun, but maybe say that for a future season, maybe season 3.
Absolutely. Yeah. So let's get into the next list.
Yeah. So we're going to stick with the Florida CCQ. There weren't very many other tournaments. There's one that we'll briefly talk about, but we saw the Ruby Amethyst list kind of evolve into what Dylan did at the CCQ. And you had mentioned it earlier with the Abu teching that in, but we still see a lot of the same familiar things. We see the Randall Boggs, which is a questing powerhouse early game.
Absolutely.
And then also the one of Maleficent Dragon. We have not seen that in a list for a while, and it was really cool to see that.
Yeah, some of the other key things that you'll notice from Garrett's list to this list is the medallion weights is at 2 now. Garrett did mention that even he would go to 2 just based on the performance of medallion weights. And then we have noticed that they continue the Vixie line to just bounce that 2-cost ramp for yellow, purple, or some other 2-cost, maybe even your own Scrooge, things of that nature. but then really focusing more on Ursula and less on Mrs. Incredible, and that's just respecting Gaston.
Exactly. Yeah, that 4 willpower or 4 strength rather stat is just so important in this matter. It avoids the red alert and it avoids the Gaston. So not only to be able to get rid of that, you would have to have a combination with, say, like Augustin or some way to bump up or to reduce the strength.
Yeah, and Eleni is a great card in this meta, but it also is susceptible to Mean and Malicious Scary, and then of course Eleanor or Potion of Malice, which we're seeing a lot of lately too.
Yeah.
So outside of the Abu, the or the Maleficent Dragon, not much different. It's just showing that it's still a powerhouse, and great job by Dylan.
Yeah. So what about aggro? We kind of seen it drop off the last couple weeks, although it's been kind of evolving. So we're going to switch over to Top Choice Gaming's. There was the list by Adam, and he brought an aggro, but this is not what we are used to seeing. We're seeing 4 Under the Sea. We're seeing 2 Strike a Good Match, and then we're seeing the Maylin Lees to not only get songs but also to sing. So how does that change the aggro matchup?
It's just showing us that control is taking over. I think when we look at all of the decks, not just this deck, we see the resounding theme is control. Control, control, control. Strike a Good Match with the 4 Maylin Lees gives you 6 chances to go even further into your deck. Booted out Nani completely from the list where the deck kind of started in this format. And, just a hard commitment to everything else. Now, one thing that I did notice is only 3 mics.
Yeah, and you think that's because of the Uninkable and the Under the Sea edition?
Yeah, I absolutely think so. Yeah. Where I honestly take and kick out Pluto, they did this, but I can see the reasoning for going mic, so that way you don't bury a potential Under the Sea.
Exactly. And then I'm also noticing that they have 4 of both Camper Mickey and the Amber Champion. So that's completely new.
Yeah, Zan kind of piloted this. He kind of made it mainstream with his great performance. Cole as well this last weekend used Zan's deck from the previous week and did phenomenal. But this player, Adam, has just ramped up those numbers and just created a bit more consistency. This deck is very tight, and that's really nice. The only thing that's a 2 of is Strike.
Right.
So I'm liking where the deck is. It looks fun. Still running the 4 Ursulas, still respecting, the pesky Under the Sea, if you will.
Sure.
So a great deck. Who knows where Amber Emerald's going to go in this format? Right now, with control continuing to rise, you would think that maybe aggro has a way in, but if you're looking at the green-purple control, it does have answers.
It does. It has ways to stop that early lore gain by having those two cost characters, but then our 3 cost character then instantly evolve into a 5 cost, and you're able to start challenging a lot sooner than what you would with a normal control deck.
And definitely above rate, too.
Yeah, for sure.
So, great job.
Yeah. So we saw a couple of archetypes kind of introduced or kind of evolving a little bit. So last week we talked about green steel starting to add the ducks in with the Darkwing Duck and the Launchpad.
Yeah.
This week we saw Nick at the Florida CCQ go a completely different direction with that.
Nick, shame on you. As somebody who's played aggro this season, shame on you. 32 actions, my man. This is insanity.
Yeah.
Leveraging Scrooge McDuck as well as Launchpad and Darkwing to draw cards, and of course Merida bringing back that 3 arrows. This deck does some very mean things. So what we saw on stream is a bunch of just buy yourself time, banish your opponent's characters very early, establish a Merida, and then just cause complete havoc across the board. So it was really a matter of, can my opponent stop me and hold me back, and made it to top 8, got 5th place. I don't know what else to say. Like, it was a great performance.
Yeah, and we had heard like rumblings at the beginning, like we have Merida and then the new action Windstorm to start dealing massive amounts of damage. And it looks like it finally found the list for that. But then also that 3 arrows, the dealing 3 damage with the terror that flaps in the night. And then, I like this, the 2 of Shere Khan. So if you don't know that, it's whenever this character quests, banish opposing damage characters. So of course, every character is going to have some kind of damage on this.
Absolutely.
So I mean, and then in addition to that, then you may put a damage counter on another chosen character.
Yeah.
So not only are you questing, you're also banishing and putting another damage counter to continue on with that. And then, oh well, yeah. So there's that. And then a little bit of respect for some items. So we see the
Mulan.
in
Yeah. So Mulan, says every time you play Mulan or a Floodborn character, you can banish an item. Okay, great. Mulan also quests for 2. Perfect. Donald Duck, one of the card draw engines, is a Floodborn character.
Yes.
So you have 7 cards that can banish items. So you inherently respect all the item hate, or you have all the item hate, so you definitely respect the items. And I did fail to mention that Goliath is running as a 4-of in this deck as well, which will also help you get more cards, which, if you watch back the game, it's quite impressive, and it's also quite heartbreaking for the opponent, because it just seemed to be answer after answer after answer, and that's what happens when you're running over 50% answers.
Yeah, I mean, aggro stands no chance, I don't think, against this deck.
You can hope for a brick, right?
Yeah, that's about all you can hope for. Yeah.
Hope for a brick and hope for some card draw on your side, just to continuously go wide and maybe weather the storm, but it's going to be difficult.
Yeah.
So, great job, fun deck. Please don't pair with me.
And then the final thing I want to talk about, this deck has been kind of rumbling. I've even experimented with it a little bit, but we saw Zan Syed take the item, the Emerald item deck. If you don't know about this deck, it runs very few characters. In fact, his version only runs 2 characters, a Kevin and a Stegmut. And both of those are very... you just go so well with the deck, because Kevin is a card that allows you to kind of cycle back and forth and things like that, and Stegma is about how many items are in your discard.
This deck is for the people who enjoyed playing solitaire. Yeah. They're playing a game all on their own.
Yeah.
Moving cards back and forth, left and right. No. Jokes aside, this is almost 0 character control deck.
Yes.
We're seeing Zan's iteration of it now. Nathan Tripp, one of his buddies that they test with and play with, also brought the same exact deck, also performed highly well. It's doing a lot of the same things to get lore, which is that enigmatic Inkcaster. This time they're using Kevin and no locations, so we're seeing other iterations with locations. And actually, the matchup that we're going to have, you leverage locations, I believe.
Yeah. So so the whole point of this deck is to ramp as much as you can, draw as many cards as you can, and your opponent is going to quest a lot. They are going to get close to game, but you will, if you get to 8 ink, then you can start taking control of the game. And this is why they sometimes call this a prison deck or a lock deck or something like that, is because once you get to that control, this deck just never lets go. You can play characters all you want. They're going to be banished, or they're going to be forced to be reckless, or are going to be forced to not quest with some actions. So you're playing characters, your opponent's playing characters, but they're not going to be able to do anything with them.
Yeah. So the battering ram, the potion of malice, just keep little ping, 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 ping of damage. So we can go on and on about this deck. It is very effective. It does have a major weakness, and that is aggro. You will have to really sit down and think of a thorough plan. And if your opponent playing aggro does continuously draw cards, they can pretty much run away with the game. But outside of that, you can shut down most mid-range and other control decks quite well.
Yeah, I would say this kind of feasts on that mid-range for sure.
Oh, definitely the purple decks too.
Yeah, for sure. So what I thought we would do is let's go ahead and take the winning deck list. I'll let you go ahead and take that. I'll take the items deck, since that's kind of a new upcoming thing that has been starting to emerge. And let's see what happens.
I better go wide.
Sounds good.
Okay, so playing Justin tonight. He is on the Emerald items control list, and I am on the green-purple retro device list. So in this matchup, I'm going to prioritize going wide, card draw, and trying to close out the game before my opponent can facilitate all of the control factor. I'm not going to have any characters to go against that, I presume. So in this scenario, I want to get rid of these 5, just in an effort to again, go faster. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
So I'm going second. So I know Ken is playing kind of a slower deck. He likes to develop things. So getting a Zootopia is going to really help me for turn one. I think Zootopia is probably going to give me a couple lore just by itself. I'm always going to keep a adventure book. So I'm going to keep that and that. Inkcaster is tempting to keep, but really what I'm looking for is a Buzz's Arm. That's going to help me ramp and help me play everything a lot cheaper. So I will just keep those two, and then I will mulligan 5. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's 6. There we go.
All right, so I'm on the play, and while it's tempting to ink my retro evolution device, I'm going to go ahead and ink Prince Philip because I'm so far away from that, and pass.
Hey, draw Buzz's Arm. All right, so I did find Buzz's Arm, so that's really good. I really like keeping Strange Things because that's going to slow them down, but right now that's my weakest card. I do have Adventure Book, I do have Strike a Good Match, all to start digging, so chances are finding another one will be good. So I will ink Strange Things. And since he did not play a character, Zootopia is going to help me quite a bit. So I'll play Zootopia Location and pass.
Ready, set, draw. I get a Milo Thatch. In this scenario, I'm going to establish the Lyle. I am concerned about the Zootopia being out and just knowing the nature of that deck. So in this scenario, I'm going to ink Elsa because the stat line is small. And I'm going to establish the Lyle. And then when you play this, you may draw a card and then discard a card. In this situation, I would probably just discard my Terran and pass turns.
Ready, set, draw, Piercing Attack. All right, so I got Piercing Attack. I have two options. I can take care of the Lyle and protect Zootopia, although he can't take Ken can't take out Zootopia for at least 2 turns. So I think, even though it's tempting to take care of Lyle, I am going to ink Piercing Attack because it's really important that I get my ramp on board with Buzz's Arm. So I'll play Buzz's Arm and pass.
Ready, set, and draw. All right, so for turn, I drew a Junior Woodchuck guidebook. While that's tempting, I'm going to go ahead and establish my characters because that is the point of this, to go faster against this matchup. So I'm going to ink my Huntsman. Although my Huntsman can take out Zootopia, I'm going to try to go the Todd in the Terran evolution line. And I really want to get a better hand. So Todd's going to help me to do that. So play out the Todd, draw 2 cards, draw a Milo and a Huntsman. And for turn, I have to discard, and I will discard the Huntsman. And I did not discard 2, I only discarded 1. So I do not get the Lyle trigger. But I will quest for 1 and pass.
Ready, set, gain a lore, draw. All right, so I got another Potion of Malice. This will be good later on in the game. Right now, Zootopia is getting me lore, but that's not really what I don't really care too much about this. It's all about setting up for the end game. Since my hand is very uninkable, even though this is a great card, I am going to ink Strike a Good Match because I will need that ink later on because I will use Buzz's Arm plus an additional 2 ink to play Adventure Guidebook. And that Adventure Guidebook, I'll use 1 ink plus Exert to reveal Game Preserve as a non-character card. So this will go in my hand. And then I will pass.
All right, ready, set, draw. Okay, so I drew the Aladdin for turn, which is really great. And it is tempting to go ahead and deal with the Buzz's Arm now or the Adventure Book. But I'm actually just going to go ahead and ink my guidebook, which does hurt, to establish my retro evolution device for 3. I will quest with both my characters for 2. And then for 1, I'm going to activate and banish my Todd with my retro evolution device, and I get to play a 2 cost or higher than the character I banished. So I will then establish a Terran. Terran does have Rush, so Terran will go ahead and take out Zootopia, and that's my turn. Pass.
All right. Ready, set, draw. Strange Things. All right, so Strange Things is not bad. He has 2 characters on board, so I can stop him from gaining lore this turn. With Adventure Book, I always want to try to look for cards first. So what I'll do is I'll use 1, play the Adventure Book to see what I get. Some Malicious, Mean, and Scary. Not a terrible card. That'll be great with Potion of Malice, so I can't ink that. So even though this is giving me lore, I'm going to ink the Game Preserve. And then with Buzz's Arm, plus the additional 3 ink, I'm going to play Strange Things. Strange Things will cause Terran and Lyle not to quest, and I will draw a card. And then I will pass.
Ready, set, draw, turn. Okay, so drawing the Prince Philip was not great at this time, but it's not terrible either. But he doesn't have Ward, and I really don't have a way of getting him out or finding a lot of use for him. And I really want to prioritize these Milos. So I'm going to ink Philip for turn, and I will play my Aladdin, and I will pay 1. And I'm actually going to choose the Adventure Guidebook because it is just helping my opponent cycle cards. Now, I did get Stranger Things on Terran and Lyle, so I can't do anything with them. So at this point, I will really just establish this Milo by activating my Retro on Terran and banishing him to get Milo out. There's nothing to bounce back, so at this point, I'm done with 1 in hand and pass.
All right, ready, set, draw. So getting my Adventure Book banished has really hurt me. I need card draw, but also, more importantly, I need to get to 8. So even though Horseman Strikes gives me card draw, I'm going to have to ink this because I have to get to 8 ink to be able to stand a chance. So I will establish as much as I can. So I can use 3 to play Potion of Malice. And then I use an addition guidebook plus 2 to play my second Potion of Malice. And then I will pass.
All right, ready, set, phase. All right, so I'm not finding my card draw. I did take Dumbo off the top, so I'm going to go ahead and play Dumbo and establish that for turn. And then I'm really left without much other options for this very engaging and interactive deck, so I will just quest against it, going up 5. And no triggers, pass.
All right, ready, set, draw. Piercing attack, not bad, but I'm really valuing these Mean, Malicious, Scary because then I can give everything Reckless, and that will buy me more time. I'm trying to get to this 8, so I got to keep inking. So piercing attack is going to go in the inkwell, and then I will use 1 to put 1 damage on Lyle, and then I will use the second one to put a 2nd damage on Lyle, banishing him, and that's all I can do. Pass.
Ready, set, on, draw.
That's not the card draw.
I know. So I drew the Hades, which is just essentially just a 3/4 1 Lord Pip vanilla card in this matchup. I know my opponent is ramping up to 8 rather quickly. Whether that's a psych out or not, I'm unaware. But I'm going to keep the Hades to rebuild my board and have a little bit of cards in my hand because, again, this is not going to get me anything. So I'm just going to quest this turn and pass. And I'm in a pretty good spot going to 13 against my opponent. Some would say go ahead and ink the Hades to eventually get to either Demona or a Milo. But I've already seen 2 Milos, so I only got 2 more in my deck, and I only run 2 more Demonas. So I may not see that just yet. So I'm going to be pretty comfortable sitting at 13, and I would just pass it. So.
Ready, set, draw. Game Preserve is part of my win condition, but I'm nowhere near winning position at all. This combination with 2 Potion of Malice is going to be very, very useful. I need to get to 8 ink. I have 2 Raging Storms. I have the ink, so unfortunately I'm going to have to ink the Game Preserve, and then 7 ink plus Buzz's Arm. I'm going to Raging Storm, and then I will pass.
All right, ready, set, draw. This was a really good draw, drawing Aladdin and Genie. So I'm immediately going to play that for 5. And I'm going to put Hades on the bottom of my deck and then draw 2 cards. That's correct, right? 1, 2. All right, and like that, I'm kind of back in the game. So in this situation, I'll ink Mean and Malicious. And I think I just pass here.
Ready, set, draw. Strange Things is not terrible. I need to delay. He's at 13. Ken's at 13 right now. I also need cards, so I will use 1 Buzz's Arm and then 3 ink to play Strange Things, allowing Aladdin and Genie cannot quest next turn, and I get to draw a card. There we go. That's what I was looking for. So then I will use 3, play the book, 1 ink, Buzz's Arm. That will help me. I'm still gonna value my Malicious, Mean, and Scary. I could ink finding another Buzz's Arm and a book. I feel pretty confident that anytime I have ways to stop him from gaining lore, and that's the ultimate game right now, is to stop Ken from getting any lore as much as possible and then establish my win condition. So I will skip inking and pass.
Okay. Ready, set, draw. This was actually really good to draw an inkable. So in this turn, what I'm going to do, because I cannot do anything with Aladdin Genie, is I'm going to ink my Elsa. And then for 1, I'm going to Retro Evolution Device my Aladdin and Genie to upgrade to Milo and Thatch. Since I do have a Demona, for 6, I'm going to Demona my opponent, draw 3 cards because I have nothing in hand. There is concern about another wipe, but we've already seen 1, so we should be good. And pass.
Ready, set, draw. All right, so seeing my opponents can play so many cards last turn, plus also drawing so many cards, that kind of concerns me. I have Raging Storm I can always use. I can always Malicious Mean and give Reckless too. But first things first, let's always get more information. So I will use 1 to Adventure Book, and it is a Potion of Malice. Another uninkable is Painful. Questing for 5, so I have a decision right now. I can Malicious Mean and give Reckless, or I can completely wipe. Right now, I think I have 2 good targets, so I will go ahead and wipe. I am so far away from my win condition, although I do have plenty of ink, so I'm going to actually ink Buzz's Arm. Even though this is my ramp, I still add a good amount of ink, and then I will use that plus Buzz's Arm to wipe the board, and then I will pass.
All right, ready, set, draw for turn. So I don't need an extra Retro Evolution Device, so I will go ahead and ink that. I kind of wanted to hold it just so my opponent didn't have the additional information. The first thing I am going to do, though, is for 3, I am going to play my 1 of Lenny. Take a look at my opponent's hand. I see a Potion of Malice, a Game Preserve, Mean and Malicious Scary times 2. And I get to decide what to get rid of from an action card. I have 1 action card I can choose. So I've already missed the 2 Raging Storms. Kind of already knew that going into it. The great thing about what I have left here is I have this Aladdin, which has Ward. So I am going to play this Aladdin out this turn just because it does have ward, and it should almost guarantee me a lore next turn. I already assume that my opponent's going to take out my Lenny. So in this situation, I would just pass turn.
Full set, draw. All right, so getting a Wither of Flowers, not bad. I could clear the board. But before I make any huge decision, let's go ahead and get more information with the adventure book. Horseman Strikes. First things first, I am going to go ahead and use both of my Potion of Malice to take out Lenny. Lenny can be a little sneaky because he can ready and then quest again. And that leaves me with 5 ink plus a Buzz's Arm. So what I'm going to do is actually I'm going to use 2 and a Buzz's Arm, play Horseman Strikes. There's no target, however, I do get to draw a card. Give me Piercing Attack. I have 3 ink left. Since Aladdin's only a 2/2, I will go ahead and start trying to find my win condition with the Game Preserve. And then I will pass my turns.
Okay. Ready, set, draw. Under the Sea is exactly what I did not want to see. I have no opportunity currently to discard it, but obviously this will be discarded. I am going to establish for 5 the Chernabog, and it's a May effect, and there's nothing that I can target, so I'm just going to let that fizzle. Now, I am going to respect this Game Preserve, and since I have Ward, I should be safe. I'm going to go ahead and 2-turn take it out with Aladdin. That way, next turn, potentially I can quest with Chernabog, and then pass turn.
Okay. Ready. Set. And draw. Horseman Strikes is card draw, so it's not the worst, but as always, I'm going to find more information first. So what's the adventure book? See what I get. Zootopia. Not too bad. All right, the name of the game is to get rid of Chernabog. I need to do that this turn, so I will use 2, actually use 1, and Buzz's Arm to Piercing Attack Chernabog. And then I will use 1 and 1 to Potion of Malice and Chernabog. Game Preserve is basically going to go away. I'm okay with this, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to establish another Potion of Malice, as well as get another location. So even though I'm losing lore on one location, I will have my backup, continuing to further advance my game state and my win condition, and then I will pass.
All right. Ready, set, draw. I drew the Junior Woodchuck guidebook, so I will immediately play it and use it to draw 2 cards. So that Junior Woodchuck guidebook came in clutch. I have some options here. I can play out Aladdin, get rid of the book. I'm definitely going to do that. The other consideration is immediately shifting Aladdin and Genie onto Aladdin. This way I can draw 2 cards by burying my Under the Sea and then drawing my 1 additional. But I think what I really want to do is maximize this card's value by doing that next turn after I draw a card. So I'm going to play out this Aladdin for 3, activating his ability to take care of that book. I will continue the plan of taking out the Game Preserve because I'm not really in the best of spots either. And then I have 2 ink left. I'm not going to use the retro device. I'm just going to go ahead and pass.
All right. Ready, set, gain lore, draw. That was perfect. I just got rid of my adventure books, so must get another one online. So use Buzz's Arm +2, play adventure book. I am going to go ahead and search with adventure book. Give me another Raging Storm. So that is definitely staying in my hand for a while until there's a bigger board. I will need to get rid of the Aladdin that I can. So for 2, I will use 2 Potion of Malices. And that leaves me with 3 ink. I want more cards, so I will use the last 3. There is no target, and that's okay, but I do get to draw another Raging Storm, and then I'll pass.
Ready, set, and draw turn. I saw my opponent off the adventure book get a Raging Storm. While I do value this Aladdin a lot because it has ward, and that's a cheap little way to win, I'm going to go ahead and bury it because at this point I know he can just get rid of my warded characters in one shot. This will give me the opportunity to bury these two and then draw 3 cards. 1, 2, 3. Okay. Not the best and not the worst with the retro. I will go ahead and continue to race because my opponent can only get 1 lore per turn at the moment, and I can get 1. So I have a 6-turn clock after this round. My opponent has a 15-turn clock currently. So just always playing to my advantage. I'm going to win this race. And I saw the Raging Storm, so I don't think I overcommit. Maybe I do. Maybe I just go ahead and overcommit another Aladdin to draw that out. So hopefully I can keep my John Silver. And pass.
Ready, set, draw. All right, starting with match card draw. Never sad about that. So we'll start with the adventure book. Getting another adventure book, which is excellent for me. I need to stop Aladdin Genie, so I'm not even going to hesitate. I'm just going to use the 3 ink, put 3 damage counters on there. So now here's where I have a little bit of a choice. I can go adventure book or strike a good match. I want to get another adventure book online, so I will use 2 plus Buzz's Arm to play adventure book. This will give me 1 card this turn, where strike a match will give me a selection of cards. So I am going to use strike a good match in this case to draw 2 cards. And that gives me what I'm looking for. So I'm keeping all of these removal because I need to do that. This slows down lore, but since I have so much ways to stop questing, I will discard the map. Unfortunately, I have more ink to play the Inkcaster, but that will be good for future turns, and then I will pass.
Okay. Ready, set, draw. So my opponent, we know, has a Raging Storm. I just drew a Todd. So I will go ahead and allow my opponent to spend 2 ink on the Todd by playing that because I get to draw 2 cards and then choose and discard a card. So 1, 2. In this situation, it's really not much thought. Just go ahead and get rid of the retro. And I know I'm going to quest for 2. Again, my clock is much better than my opponent's. And I think here I can, for 3, play the book, draw 2 cards. My goodness. And then for 2, I will play the Lyle because I have discarded 2 cards, 1 being the retro, 1 being the Junior Woodchuck. So I will take away a lore from my opponent at the end of my turn and pass.
Right. Ready.
And you gain a lore.
Set.
We've been giving him the lore as we discussed play lines draw.
So I am going to go ahead and take care of the board and at all costs not using my Raging Storms. But as first, I'll try to get as much information as possible. So Adventure Book, another Mean and Malicious. I will use the second Adventure Book. Another Mean and Malicious. Okay. So not too bad at all. I'll take that. For 2 plus 1, I will Mean and Malicious Scary. Everybody has 1 damage. And then for 4 ink, I'll then play To Wither a Flower, deals 2 damage to each damaged character. So that clears Ken's board. And I still don't have enough ink to play this Inkcaster. I want to play it so badly, but I'm going to keep these 2 because I have no idea what I want to do next turn. I have the options of Raging Storm, Mean Malicious with a bunch of damage, so I am just going to pass.
Okay. Ready, set, draw. So I got a Todd. I'm going to immediately go ahead and Todd for 3. I know that these Todds are going to continuously get burned down, but again, I just want to sculpt a better hand. This Prince Philip is actually good because I've seen my opponent burn through a lot of the strikes. Okay, so I just played the Todd, and I got the Hades and the Philips. The Philip is good. I need to discard, so I will discard the Under the Sea. I know my opponent has Potion of Malice, but again, the card draw, it's very important. I think in this situation, I'm going to go ahead and just develop the Hades to kind of draw out some more of that removal I saw my opponent did have. And then, hopefully get to a point where I can get 4 on the board with maybe Prince Philip in the combination of somebody else. So pass.
All right. Ready. Set. Draw. All right, so Buzz's Arm, I'll take some more ramps. So I will use Buzz's Arm +1 to play another Buzz's Arm. I will want to get this Battering Ram in play. So I'll use 3 plus the second Buzz's Arm to play a Battering Ram. The problem with this item deck, it gets so many things in play. And that leaves me with 4 ink. I definitely need to do 3 damage counters to Hades, plus the Battering Ram will put the 4th damage on. Leaves me with 1 ink. I really want to get some lore. I need to finish out this game. So as much as this pains me, I am gonna ink Mean and Malicious, play the Inkcaster, and gain my 2nd lore for the turn, and pass.
Okay. Ready, set, draw. I've crafted a plan. Lyle's going to be hard to maintain, and I'm at 8 inks. I want to ink Lyle. That does hurt. I could use Todd to go into Zootopia and develop the Huntsman. I do know my opponent has a Raging Storm, so I'm going to go ahead and quest for 1, going to 17. What I want to do is draw out the Raging Storm that my opponent got from the adventure book by playing John Silver and the Huntsman. I'll give Reckless to his adventure book. And then, like I said, I just want to be able to establish this next turn. I obviously don't know there's 2 Raging Storms, and then close out the game that way. So I'll pass.
Ready. Set 1 for Zootopia and draw. That's a pretty impressive board. My Zootopia is going to be gone with just John Silver, so I'm probably going to wipe. But first, let's get more information. So we'll start with Adventure Book. Horseman Strikes. I'll be able to search a 2nd time. And Education and Elimination. Okay, that changes a lot right here. That could not be better. I'm going to be able to hold on to these Raging Storms because I can now get rid of John Silver with just a single card. So for 1, I will put 1 damage counter on John Silver, and then 2 Buzz's Arms plus 2 ink. I will use Education and Elimination to get rid of John Silver. That leaves me still with 4 ink. So that means I can use 2 ink to put 2 damage counters on the Huntsman, and then the 3rd one will go on the Battering Ram. I will then be able to establish a 2nd Inkcaster, and then get 2 lore, 1, 2, and then pass.
Fun stuff. Ready, set, draw. Trying to find my happy place here. I know my opponent has a Raging Storm, so I've got to desperately get it out. I've got 3 turns to get that out. My opponent should be getting 3 lore each and every turn, so it's a 3-turn clock. So I'm going to go to 18. Really no choice there. And for 5, I'm going to establish... You know what? For 9, I'm going to establish Philip. That should draw out the removal of the Raging Storm. And hopefully I can play Chernobog. Actually, I can't because of all that. Okay. Maybe I'll top deck a Demona. Pass, huh?
Ready, set. One for Zootopia, and draw. So we got the Horseman Strikes, so I am definitely going to use that first. So 2 Buzz's Arms plus 1, Horseman Strikes on Prince Philip, and I also get to draw a card.
Judge.
I will then use 1 to put a damage counter, and then a second with Battering Ram, or second damage rather. I've played 1 card, so I do need to play a second card. So we will start with Strike a Good Match to draw 2 cards, and then discard a card. I don't really care about his retro evolution device anymore, so that can go away. My second card this turn, so I will gain 2 lore. I will continue to start searching, so I will use 1 adventure book, piercing attack. Second, another Inkcaster, perfect timing. I'll use that, and then I will get another lore. I'm going to save my actions and stuff like this because even though I can't win next turn, I can still play 2 actions even if there's no target to get that Inkcaster, and then I'll pass.
Okay, ready, set. It doesn't say win the game. So I really don't have much choice. I'm going to go ahead and play out the Milo Thatch and pass turn.
Sure. Ready, set. 1 for Zootopia, draw. So Milo has wards, so the only way I can get rid of it is Raging Storm, so I'm going to go ahead and do that. So I'll use 2 here, plus another 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 to Raging Storm. I have only 3 ink left. I need to play a second card. Piercing Attack is great ink in this case. So then I will play a Battering Ram. That's my second card. We'll gain 3 lore. 2, 3, and that should do it. Pass.
Okay, ready, set, draw. I already know I'm going to lose on the Zootopia, so the only luck I can get here is getting a Terran. So ready, set, Terran. Okay. For 3, play out Elsa, draw a card. Hades, GG's. Welcome back.
Yep.
So that was an interesting game.
Yeah, hopefully you guys are still with us. Hopefully you didn't fall asleep with that.
Yeah, hopefully when you're editing this, you kind of speed up that gameplay. So I lost. I basically got stuck at 17, 18 lore. And Justin did a great job of showcasing what exactly the actions anti-character deck does.
Right. It's all about delaying the quest. Once you get that control, once you get to that 8 ink, that's when the decision making happens. Do you wipe the board with the Raging Storm, or do you make characters reckless, or how can you use all the different tools to clear as much as you can? Maybe you can still get a few extra points, but ultimately I'm able to take control of the game, and then those Inkcasters just close it out.
I felt like you had about 20-ish cards left, maybe a little less.
I think it was actually less. I think it was probably around 10 or so. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, I got down pretty low.
I mean, you saw all 4 Raging Storms. That wasn't terrible.
Yeah.
So no, I mean, he did it. He did the thing. You know, I definitely tried for the aggressive line. I did get a little locked on cards. I felt I was a little starved compared to some of the gameplay I've seen. But I just felt like I really needed to explode, and I didn't necessarily do too much of that.
Yeah, and I mean, your deck does have some challenges that are unique to it. There's a lot of that ward characters, so I had to do a lot of ways to put the damage. The Mean Militia Scary became a really important card in the matchup. But yeah, I think...
Or the Raging Storm.
Or the Raging Storm, of course. But yeah, I think once that deck gets control, it's just nearly impossible to let go.
So, great job. So, we got the NACs.
Yeah, North American Championships.
What do you think is going to be the meta now that we've essentially seen the meta change from week to week to week for the most part?
Right. I think this meta is kind of wild. It's just kind of, this is the Wild West. We don't know exactly what's going to happen each week.
We're in the East.
Yeah, there could be a deck that we have not even seen yet. I would not be surprised if we see something like that. But I think that we are going to see I think we're going to see aggro still be there, but I think that it's going to be reined in by all these control decks that we now see.
I definitely think we're going to see the meta shift to the controls, the control area. I think Zan and Nathan bringing actions with the two characters, I think that's going to bring a little more attention to that to that deck. I don't necessarily think in that direction that they went, but I could be mistaken. I'm not the pro of that deck at all. I think green purple is definitely going to be here, but I think we now have an opportunity for Ruby Amber to kind of come back.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, I mean, with Ruby Amber having the board wipe, if it does hit these green purple decks and such, you know, I think that's kind of a way in, and then you kind of hope that the aggro takes care of, you know, stays away from you and takes care of that items deck. I think Ruby Amber may have a shot again, or maybe blue yellow.
Blue yellow. Okay.
So I've seen and played against a little bit of blue yellow that is very controlling, and if we continue to keep going big, these decks will have an opportunity. If the control decks, or excuse me, the mid-range decks continue to go bigger and try to fight one another, pushing yellow-purple kind of out, you know, I think that those two decks may have an opportunity. I'm not telling you to go out there, build it, and play it. Not that you're here listening for that, but I just see with that type of control, there's an opportunity now.
Yeah. Okay. I can see
Just
that.
go big.
Yeah. Especially since decks like the yellow purple are going away from playing the Raging Storm. So those decks that have that board wipe, if they can get to that point, will definitely come out on top.
And Blue Amber has a way of just getting so much ink and putting down characters that you feel you need to answer.
Yeah.
You know, they put down the bell. The bell, when you banish another character, goes to your inkwell. So you want to get rid of her, so she goes to your inkwell. Just a lot of those kind of tricks. So possibly. Maybe I'm way off base here.
Yeah, I could see that. Like I was saying, it's something that we haven't seen in past weeks. I know that probably some of the better players are keeping their tech secret because they, of course, want to win. They want to go to Worlds and everything like that. I could see that happening. I'm also I'm expecting to see a lot of that yellow or the yellow and green purple deck. I expect to see that become really popular this week.
And where does it go from here?
Don't ask me. I have no idea.
Is it going to turn into the green-blue of last set and really become the Achilles heel of the other best decks?
Yeah, I could see that happening. The old deck kind of could lose easily to dogs, and I feel that this deck can also do that. Although it might have a better chance than that deck did in the past meta. But that type of deck usually tends to win these major tournaments.
What do you think about Purple Steel?
It's interesting. It can do well, and at the same time, it can just completely miss its things. Especially we see the droids version that they have. If they don't get those certain cards in order, if they don't go up their curve the way that they need to, the deck can just kind of fall apart. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see it do well, but I don't think it has maybe the consistency as other decks do.
I think with yellow-purple still being such a large share, the respect for Gaston's there, so I don't know if droids will necessarily get there. We'll have to wait and see.
Yeah. Green Steel, I think, also has a good shot. It did very well the last 2 weeks. So that's definitely something that we will see. What will come out on top, I think usually for the most part, it's always going to be that kind of control deck that always seems to edge out everything. We've seen that in the last DLCs, with the exception of like Zan taking dogs and doing
Or
well.
Ace.
Yeah, and that deck had its...
That was a control deck.
In a way, it was, yeah. So I feel that we usually see those control decks come to the top.
And Sailor did.
Sailor did too, yeah.
Yeah, dogs.
Everybody did, yes, yeah.
We survived season 2.
Yeah.
The dog season.
Yeah. So
Well, this has been super informative. I had to research quite a bit to even navigate that green-purple deck. So that was exciting. Wasn't exciting to lose, but educational nonetheless.
Yeah. So what I thought we'd do is kind of tease next week. Next
Okay.
set championships are coming up right around the corner. Next week we have, we're actually this weekend we have the Continentals, and then it's set championship week starting. And I thought, well, next week what we'll do is do a little recap, but then also look at what popular decks you might see at your set championships, what to expect. We can even go into how to prepare for those.
Okay. Yeah, and on our Discord, I will go ahead and throw some of the mulligan strategies for some of those best decks up there, and feel free to hop in when you get time. So, thanks for coming by. This has been episode 5. See you next week for episode 6.
Yep. See you.